UVA football appears to be in a position of playing big boy football. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. So, a day after landing Nebraska freshman QB Danny Kaelin off the transfer portal, the UVA football coaching staff went even bigger with the commitment of Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris played at North Texas this past year. He has also been at TCU in Oklahoma. He started at TCU for two different seasons. This past season at North Texas, threw for 3,774 yards and 31 touchdowns, excuse me. Those are Brennan Armstrong-like numbers from a few years ago at UVA. Um, is there any doubt that UVA is a serious portal player now? I don't think there is. Um, Now, word got back to us on Sunday night that the Danny Kaelin pickup was a seven-figure NIL deal. Kaelin, I'll go more in detail about him through this particular video podcast. Um, he's a guy that from Nebraska that he'll have 4 years of eligibility left. He's just a true freshman, but he was a big get as a developmental prospect, a guy who was an Elite 11 finalist. A lot of those guys end up being in the NFL. Um, but I guess the question was, could he come in and start right away? And so that question answered with Chandler Morris being the pickup. I don't imagine that Chandler Morris, with all the options he had out there, is coming to hold a clipboard for one more year. This will be his sixth year in college football. He's a plug and play QB1. 21 career starts at TCU, then at North Texas. There's a family tie for Morris at UVA. Morris's father, Chad, was the offensive coordinator at Clemson from 2011 to 2014. That's the time that Tony Elliott was the running backs coach at Clemson. When Morris got hired to be the new coach at SMU in December of 2014, Tony Elliott was elevated to offensive play caller, co-offensive coordinator, and kept that job until he got the job at UVA. So Chad Morris, things didn't work out for him so much as a head coach. He was 14 and 22 at SMU, and that actually got him a job at Arkansas. He turned SMU around. Now we know SMU is a playoff team, but SMU football back in the early mid 2010s was still, on its trying to get on its way up. Anyway, he was 2-10 his first year. He got them to 7-5 by his third year. Got the job at Arkansas. Only lasted there for parts of two seasons. He was 2-10 in his first season at Arkansas in 2018, and then 2-8, and got fired before the end of that season in 2019. He's now the wide receivers coach at Texas State. And Texas State, as it turns out, will be playing North Texas in the First Responders Bowl on January 3rd. Um, so, what's interesting here. It seems like a lifetime ago we were lamenting the decision of Anthony Colandrea to hit the portal, thinking that things wouldn't get any better. I will be honest, after the Danny Kaelin news on Sunday, I'm surprised that we have this news about Chandler Morris. It's a pleasant surprise. Kaelin, for all of his promise, is a developmental guy, but I just assumed that that big NIL commitment that I was told about on Sunday night meant that hey, if you're going to spend a lot of money on a kid, you're going to let him learn, and um, but that said, now I guess we can say that with Kalen and Morris will be the starter, I presume, going into the 2025 season. Kalen will be his understudy. This and there's two freshmen from the 2025 signing class, Cole Gear and Bjorn Jurgensen. This probably makes Gavin Frakes, the New Mexico State transfer who came in before the 2024 season, probably makes him expendable. He started 5 games in New Mexico State in 2022, redshirted there in 2023. And then one from among Gear and Jurgensen, whoever doesn't win the third string job in training camp. Neither will be January enrollees at UVA, so they'll both be competing in camp. But pretty quick battle for those two to see who's the number three, because whoever's number three is probably going to be the number four guy is going to be heading out the door. And for all that said, maybe the number three guy does too. When you look at the fact that there's a quarterback of the future in Danny Kaelin. And the QB room is complete as far as that goes. More about the Kaelin kid. So I told you a good bit about the Chandler Morris kid. Started his career at Oklahoma in 2020. Did Morris was there briefly, transferred to TCU, was the starter there for the week one starter, two different seasons. He got hurt in 2022 in the season opener, lost that job to Max Duggan, who eventually led TCU to that surprise national championship game appearance. And then Morris took the starting job back in 2023 and started 9 games there. Um, with Danny Kaelin from Nebraska, he's a guy that he was, I mentioned the Elite 11 finals that he qualified for in 2023, and that's Elite 11 is a big deal. Virginia was actually on his radar, offering him going into the 2024 recruiting cycle, but Virginia was way back in the pack. Uh, the list of suitors included Colorado, Florida State, Michigan State, Missouri. There were a lot of others. He originally committed to Nebraska. He was a Missouri kid, then he went back to Nebraska, and then there was an issue with him being recruited over, if you want to call it that. Dylan Raiola, a Nebraska legacy from Georgia, played high school ball some in Texas before that. Raiola, his father was Dominic Raiola, was a Remington Trophy winning offensive lineman at Nebraska back in 2000. His uncle Donovan is now the offensive line coach, has been since 2022 at Nebraska. So he's got on the NIL portal, NIL stream there. Um, in Virginia, he said was one of the first schools to contact him, and he likes the offense. I mean, he's a pocket passer, and Virginia runs, the offense that Tony Elliott prefers is a pro style offense with a need for a big pocket passer. Um, it's a big get for UVA football to have this kid coming in. He'll compete for the starting job. I'm saying that Chandler Morris. I mean, Chandler Morris isn't coming to spend his 6th year somewhere holding a clipboard, but Kalen will get plenty of reps in the spring, and a lot of time to develop. And you want him obviously to develop. If he's going to be your number two, which no, there's no reason he's not your number two. Going into the summer. If he's going to be your number two, you need him to be prepared to be the number one, just like Anthony Calandri had to be 2 years ago when he was a true freshman coming in, and Tony Muskett was brought in to be the starter. Muskett got hurt in week one, that loss in 2023 down in Tennessee, down in Nashville to Tennessee, and you needed Calandri to start. He ended up starting 6 games that year, so Kalen will need to be ready, but hopefully 2025 for him is a developmental year. He has 3 years after that to be the quarterback of the future. Um, and so this is a situation now when you look at UVA football, the next step is turning to those other position groups. You got to think like how NFL teams develop their rosters. You got a budget now. I mean, this is a different era in college football. You're not just, out there recruiting everything you can get, position groups and that kind of thing. You got to think in terms of your budget. Your number one position, your number one priority is it's the most important position is quarterback. And then everything around that, secondary on down, you think about, all right, we need to be able to block for that quarterback. So he's a right-handed quarterback. You need a left tackle. And then you think in terms of priority and your spending. This is how NFL teams think. We need people to be able to rush the quarterback. So you need speedy defensive ends. You need cornerbacks who can cover the receivers. Then the receivers are sort of after that in terms of the pecking order of priority. That's where you'll see the work being done in the coming days off the transfer portal for UVA football. In fact, there were a couple pickups uh, over the weekend as the pickups were being made at quarterback. A defensive back from Louisville, Devin Neal, who had a good season in 2023, four INTs, which was tied for second in the ACC, six pass breakups in 2023. Then he played 4 games last year, didn't get a lot of snaps, and decided to hit the portal after the fourth game to maintain his year of eligibility to basically be able to redshirt. Um, Jacob Holmes, a defensive lineman who's had 10 sacks in the last 2 years at Fresno State. So you're, pass rusher. You've got a cornerback, a pass rusher, and then there's also another cornerback, Jason Prevard from Oregon State from the FCS level. A big cornerback, 6'3". Cornerbacks tend to be a little smaller, 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 feet tall. But 6'3" cornerback, if he's got the twitchy hips, as they like to say, if he's got the ability to keep up with guys speed wise at the FBS level, 6'3" will be a big advantage. He can be a help in the run defense game, and certainly maybe be a guy that can help shut down some of the bigger receivers you see out there. So they're going down the line of kind of what you'd expect. We just haven't seen any offensive linemen in the portal from the portal yet, which is going to be it's got to be a priority. And I'm going to do one last click here just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And no, it doesn't look like there's any new news as of I'm recording this around 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. So that is the word as of as of when I hit end on this particular video. Hey, any questions for me? Any comments that you want to share with me? Anything you want me to look into? Anything you've heard that maybe I can verify or something like that? Drop me a line at chris@augustafreepress.com.